Hello there, my name is Prasanjit, and in this video we'll be using Duet AI assistants to deploy microservices on Google Cloud on Kubernetes. So what are we going to do first is to enable the Cloud Companion API, the AI Companion API that will help us enable Duet AI on the Google Cloud Console. And to do that, first of all, we open the Cloud Shell and set the projects and the regions and all other variables needed, as you can see. And then I'll set the correct user ID and authorize it so that I can do it. I'm using Quick Labs for this, and I'll set up the IAM policies that are needed to get started with Duet AI. And then we are done to move ahead and use Duet. And as you can see, I'm also enabling the container API and all other such APIs that will be needed to deploy the GKE cluster, as well as the policies that will be needed to help us allow this. Now we enable Duet here as well on the chat panel, and we have Duet AI on the Cloud Console alongside us as our assistant. And here we write a prompt: what's the gcloud command for creating a zonal GKE cluster with a custom number of nodes and custom machine type. So it gives us a template with the gcloud command, as you can see here, and it also gives an example with, say for example, you have this region and 3 nodes and machine type and 1 standard one, then this would be your command line example. So we can directly use that and get started with creating a cluster. So what I'll do now is to make changes in the command and run it. So we are spinning up using E2 standard 4 instances, and our GKE cluster is getting spun up. While that is happening, I'll take you to this repository which contains the code for the microservices demo. So essentially we are setting up an online boutique, and it is a retail application, and behind the scenes there are multiple microservices that are going to run. And to set this all up, we are going to use Duet in various steps of the way. So as you can see here in the GitHub repo, these are the different microservices that will be deployed on the GKE cluster. And once deployed, we will be having an architecture that looks like this. So we'll have a front end and different front end microservices and back end microservices like add, recommendations, payment, email, product catalog, and so on. And we'll have Reddish CAS as well, which is feeding the backend. And that is how the retail application will pan out. So overall, this is the microservices architecture, and that we'll be deploying on Google Cloud, and we'll be using Duet as our PAL when we are deploying this, and if we run into any errors. And we can ask creative questions to Duet and understand better about our microservice deployment. So as you can see, the cluster is up now, and we have the GKE cluster up and running there. So our next step would be to deploy the services out there. So how do we do that? So let me clear the screen, and we go to the Kubernetes to just have a look at the cluster. So here we are. Here is our cluster test, which is already running and healthy. And we can go ahead and clone the microservices demo repository. So you can see microservices demo is right here in our console. So we'll get into that folder, microservices demo, and I'll try to list it down. So here you can see all the files and folders within, and I just want to have a look at our YAML file. which is inside release Kubernetes manifest.yaml. So this has all the declarations about how different microservices will run, what are the base images to be used, what would be the port on which they will listen on, and so on. So we'll execute the kubectl command to deploy these microservices now. So to do that, we can go ahead and do a kubectl apply and apply that YAML. If you want to do that and ask that question to Duet, like what would be the syntax, you can do that as well. So here you can see all these services are created, and if we do a kubectl get deployments, we can see that the services are ready. And echo kubectl get service, it shows the front end load balancer ingress IP. So here we are, our website is up with our backend services. So that's how easy it is, and everything is running on our Kubernetes cluster and looks to be running fine as we navigate around our website. So now we have our services running and Kubernetes running, and our website is up. Now let's try out a few more things. So let's get back here to our cluster and do a deep dive into our logs. So I search logging and I move into the log explorer dashboard. So here you can see different logs are available over here. Close this. Okay, so now we have more space here. So here you can see the logs coming in from different services, including our GKE cluster. So let me just clear out the Duet chat as well. Alright, so we want to check certain logs, and I want to check with Duet what is the log explorer query to search for logs from pods for a namespace called default in a GKE cluster name test. So it provides me the exact query with all these variables fitted in, so I can use that directly on the log explorer to get what I want. So that's how Duet is making things easier for us. Otherwise we would have just gone on through those logs and tried to filter it out. So we are saving some time and doing it more efficiently in this case. So this is one place where Duet is helping us. We can also use Duet to further dig down the logs as well. So I'm just copy pasting whatever Duet suggested as a query, and if there are entries relevant, we can see the logs being filtered out and the results out of that namespace and that particular cluster. So that's how you filter out your logs and get Duet assistance to do that. Now let's deep dive into one log entry. So I just wanted it to explain this log entry, and it explained the log entries from the ad service component of the hipster shop application, and the log entry is info level log entry. The status code was 200, so everything was fine with that, and the pod is running on the node GKE test default 88A52 blah blah. So that is how we see our logs. Now I can check with Duet how can I build a private build environment that is not connected to the internet on Google Cloud. So it gives me a series of steps: how to create a VPC network subnet, how to create a private service connection between the network and my build environment, and so on, and also suggests other links where I can refer to the official documentation. And using these steps I can go ahead and do that. Now if I ask what is a cloud build private pool which it suggested in the answer. So I get a full description that it is a fully managed resource that provides dedicated pool of build workers for our builds. So we have a private pool of builds so that I do not run out of build workers, and I'm not sharing it with anyone else on the cloud. So really helpful, and always the responses come with certain documentation and related content as well. Now if I ask further, can you give me a gcloud command to create my first cloud build private pool, it gives me a command to do just that and explains each and every variable that has been used in that particular command, so that I really know what I am doing and I own what I am doing, and then execute the command. So it gives you a sense of confidence as a developer, as a full stack engineer, to deploy or run commands. Otherwise you would be looking at internet trying to get suggestions and do that. All right, so I have typed in another prompt which says, can you show me an example of cloud build private pool config file? So it gives me a config file example which I can use to build a config file for creating my private pool. So, and also as usual, like it shows me the source from where it got the command, and with a follow-up questions like what does the egress option in that field do, it says the details about it, that no public egress is the option that restricts egress from private pools to the public internet. So I think this is the solution that we needed. So let's go ahead and try to work on it and deploy that. So here we are, we have the cloud shell opened up. So I'll go ahead and create the config file with the details that Duet suggested. So I have created the config.yaml file and now run the original command with this config file. I ran into an error. Okay, so it says this is unable to run private pools. That is because I am using Quick Labs, which is a lab environment, and lab environments do not have access to private pools. That is understandable. Like when you do it on a real environment, you should be able to do that with the commands that I have shown there. So well and good. So let's move on to the next requirement. So we can query Duet that if I create a private pool with no public egress enabled, can I use artifact registry to host my packages privately and access them from a private pool? And the response is yes, we can do that. So if I say how can I use gcloud to create private Docker repository for container images in artifact registry, it gives me the command to do that, and how to invoke gcloud command for creating private Docker repository for container images in artifact registry. So really useful, and you can learn a lot while you're deploying, and you don't have to get into other websites to get responses. You get genuine authentic responses with citations and sources and related content from the internet. Now there's a follow-up question I wanted to ask, like, is the KMS key parameter optional for gcloud? Because I might not use the key in the use case that we are working on. It's just a demo. So it says it is optional, so we are free to use or not use it, and we would not use it at this stage. It's just a demo, so it's fine. So I remove that option and execute the command. Now it is trying to create the private Docker repository where my images would be stored, and there it is, the repository has been created. So that is how we use Duet AI assistants to learn more about Kubernetes engine, deploy our microservices over there, check logs, and also ask deeper questions and get our responses, and tune our commands and deploy our clusters and services based on that. I hope we learned something new today, and also learned how Duet AI can assist us and increase our powers as a full stack developer. Thank you.